Go.
All right, everybody, thank you for tuning the channel today. Today we're going to talk about wheel spacers, right? The good, the bad, all those things, okay? I have always ordered my wheel spacers basically from two companies, okay? And just to give you an example, I've got some here on the tailgate that we're going to talk about. These are Shifted Industries 2-inch wheel spacers. You know, one of the things that you always want to look for is right here. You want to make sure the hub-centric spacers. If you do not have this ring on there, I wouldn't run them, okay? Yeah, you can buy a cheap set. You can get a set that don't have those. Hub-centric means the weight is on this hub. Lug-centric means the weight is actually on the lugs. On your Ford Super Duties, your F-250s and 350s, if you notice, when you put that wheel on, it's got a nice tight fit over this ring. That's because the weight is actually here, and it centers it, and it makes it work like it should, okay? So my recommendation, if you're getting spacers, spend the money. Shifted, Bora. If you look here, these are 2-inch. If you look here, these are 1-inch. I've ran these on multiple trucks. That's why they look used. You can see the Bora logo on them. You can also see that they are hub-centric. They have the ring on them, okay? Now, one of the things that I want to talk about today is a lot of times people have issues with spacers, and one of the reasons is that they're non-hub-centric, and they're the cheap ones that you can buy. But what I want to talk to you about is exactly this, and I've got some short studs because you do have to, if you're going to run 1-inch spacers on the front of your Ford F-250, you're going to have to cut the studs. So I keep my studs, and I've got a set of factory ones. You can knock these out, put these back in, and I can run the 1-inch if I want to. But as an example today, I'm going to show you this. What a lot of people do is they say, even if you order a 2-inch spacer and you have right at 2 inches, you need to torque it down, and you need to make sure, here, get the camera at this angle, that you have nothing sticking out past this right here, right? You want that stud to be down in there like that. Tighten down. Don't look at it and untighten and say, yeah, that's good, because when you torque that down, it's going to pull out and you're going to have that. Any little movement past here is going to create pressure on the wheel. It's going to cause spacer failure. And a lot of times that's what happens. And so make sure that your studs aren't longer than your spacer. You want to look for that. The next thing is if you look at F-250 and F-350, they are not the same, okay? You can't just get a set of 8-on-170 spacers and they're gonna work, okay? There's other brands that make them, and a lot of times they just make them for the F-250. Now, if you have a trimmer or you have the high capacity or an F-350 single rear wheel, you have the larger rear axle. One of the telltale signs that you can tell that is this is an F-250 center cap right here. Okay, for the rear axle. And what you can tell is if you look, you see how this center cap is almost twice as deep. And the reason this center cap is twice as deep is because the hub on these axles are larger, okay? And so I wanted to show you the difference. So if you're looking at a truck on the lot, even if you're buying a used truck, if you're looking for that high capacity axle, you're looking for the bigger axle, this one's gonna be it with the larger rear hubcap. Come back over here. Okay, the next thing that I want to show you is, this is the front, I know this is the front spacer for the front axle. And the reason I know this is because these are powder coated, these are machined from Shifted Industries, right? If you look, they have these, they stock them on the shelves for F-250s and F-350s. When you call and you order a set for an F-350 or a high capacity rear axle, you're gonna have to tell them. If you notice, this is one that they have to put these back in the machine and they have to cut this out right here. And it's really thin, that's a thin lip, but it doesn't matter because when it goes over the axle, it's a tight fit. And so you're still hub centric on the rear, but you will have to cut these. If you try to order just a set of 8-on-170 spacers and you try to slip this over this rear axle, these will not work. You're gonna have to get these, okay? Now, the next step is, the reason I have these two that I've purchased, and you can actually, when you put spacers on your truck, you can run these shallow hubcaps on the rear if you want to. The deeper ones don't bother me on the rear, so I'm not doing that, but you actually space it out enough that the shallow one would probably work. But one of the things that I do on my truck is when you put that 2-inch spacer on here, this hub is gonna be 2 inches back, so you're gonna see the whole back side of the center cap, okay? And so what I do is I order the 2-wheel drive rear center caps, and then you just don't see that, right? You don't see your hub. And if you ever need to lock them in, you can just pop the hubcap out and lock it in. But they're automatic otherwise. So I buy these shallows. And all right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get the truck jacked up. We're gonna get this wheel off. We're gonna get one of these spacers installed, get it bolted up. We'll show you what that looks like. So stay tuned. Slide it over. I may have to buff a little bit of that rust off of that hook because it's a pretty tight fit. Okay, sorry I couldn't hold the camera and do this at the same time, but I did have to cut the nubs off, just the tips of these studs, so you can still go back to stock if you want, but they would stick out past this when they were torqued. So I got that done. The spacer is a nice tight fit. I had to take an SOS pad, get all the rust off. I mean, it's super tight on the rear. So, and that's what you want. You don't want a loose spacer. Anyway, put a screwdriver in right here, just so we can torque it down. It's a 3/4 inch socket. And we're going to be torquing these to about 130. So, there we go. Okay, so once we got these tight, we're going to let it, we're going to drive it about 400 or 500 miles. We'll pull the tires back off. We're going to retorque these, and we should be good to go. And every tire rotation, we're going to torque them after that. So let me get the tire on, and then we'll show you what it looks like. All right, so I got all the 2-inch spacers mounted up, Shifted Industries. You can see I used the shallow 2-wheel drive center cap, or F-350 center cap. And I've actually got another set ordered because I'm going to take the big ones off the back. I prefer the shallow ones over those. But side profile, you can see you definitely stick out a little bit past the fenders. It's 37x13.50 Nitto mud graps. Gives it a little bit wider stance on the back. And I have 0 rub on this truck. Full turn, no problems. I do have the 1-inch, or not 1-inch, I have the 1/2 inch bumper spacer that's got that pushed out. You can see it's pushed a little bit. But overall, no rub. Happy with the way it looks. It drives great. Thanks for watching the video today. If you can, please hit that like and subscribe. And we'll catch you on the next one.